oh, well, these business people are smart. Like the perceptions of who the business community is with is an important thing, even for people who aren't themselves in the business world.
According to a survey released this week, nearly all Fortune 500 CEOs do not intend to back Trump in the next election. Using this as a chance, MSNBC anchor Rachel Maddow disproved the long-standing MAGA assertion that Trump is good for business. Top CEOs would support Trump if he were genuinely beneficial for business, Maddow pointed out. But these powerful business leaders' resounding lack of support says otherwise, decisively dispelling the illusion that Trump's presidency benefited the business community.
We're going to turn this country around. We're going to turn it around really fast. We're going to do the things that you've wanted to do. We're going to bring it back to 4 years ago.
Leading CEOs are not supporting Trump with donations and are against Trump winning another term in office. Trump's platform, which is full of tariffs, undermining the Fed and depreciating the dollar, is met with mistrust from most business executives. Sonnenfeld claims that rather than Adam Smith, Trump's economic nationalism is more akin to Karl Marx. Sonnenfeld highlights a historic shift in political donations, pointing out that no Fortune 500 CEO has contributed to the Republican presidential campaign for the first time in the history of his institute's recording of such data.
And that is a historic break going back to William Howard Taft and through Calvin Coolidge and Ronald Reagan and the Bushes, pointing out that there are no Fortune 500 CEOs who are supporting former President Trump.
Every time he takes office, Trump says he ran the economy more efficiently than Biden did and vows to bring prosperity back. But this is just ridiculous. If Trump is elected in November, 16 prominent economists, all of whom have won Nobel Prizes, warn that his economic policies may cause inflation. Economists like Yale's Robert Shiller and Columbia University's Joseph Stiglitz warn that Trump's reckless spending plans will rekindle inflation concerns that have been steadily waning.
Just had the best year of American job creation in the 21st century. The U.S. stock market keeps hitting new records and then breaking those records.
Inflation has decreased fairly swiftly, which worries many Americans. The Economist's letter is signed, "The fear is justified that Donald Trump would rekindle this inflation with his fiscally irresponsible budgets." Trump may boast all he wants, but his economic ideas are more likely to make things worse than better. His economic performance isn't as good as he says it is, as seen by the warnings from prominent economists and the lack of support among CEOs. Rather, the economy could become unstable upon his return to power, resulting in increased inflation and financial instability. It is possible that Donald Trump's economic policies will increase inflation. His suggestion of imposing a 10% tariff on all imports to pay for the deportation of immigrants is one such. The average American household's annual costs would rise by $1,700, according to experts from the Peterson Institute for International Economics, making this idea essentially an inflationary tax. Inflation may also be exacerbated by Trump's proposal to deport millions of immigrants, which would reduce the labor force, increase competition for American workers, and raise wages.
When you compare Trump's term in office with Joe Biden's term in office, these nonpartisan fiscal watchdog groups put this out today, which kind of puts a fine point on it. Right? That's who added what to the debt.
Whatever Trump puts forth, professionals in the field of economics constantly point out the shortcomings in his proposals. Almost all economists concur that Donald Trump's economic plan is significantly inferior to Joe Biden's. The agreement is nearly unanimous since it is so powerful. Nobel laureate Joseph Stiglitz, along with 15 other economists who have won the Nobel Prize, have commended Biden's policies, which include his investments in American industry and the Inflation Reduction Act. Thus, it appears that there is a clear choice for president if you desire a healthier economy.
Elon Musk and all that Joe Biden has done for electric vehicles, he certainly knows how good the economy is. He knows how good the stock market is. Elon Musk backup dancers who have been very pro and outspoken pro-Trump in the last few weeks. And I want to explain why. They know how good the economy is.
Stiglitz and his colleagues endorsed Biden's initiatives. However, they did not go into detail about Trump's promises. In the America of Donald Trump, working Americans pay more while the wealthy pay less. Feel free to cast your ballot for the orange man if that is the kind of economy you desire. But Biden is your man if you're looking for consistency and justice. Let's face it, despite Trump's endless platitudes about restoring prosperity to the economy, he achieved little to improve it throughout his administration. There's no reason to think that his his performance would improve on the second try. In response to all those charges from Nobel laureate economists and businesses, how do Trump and his team respond? Of course, they're calling them a bunch of fools.
I mean, tell me what the rationale is there. Oh, it's not about the business climate, it's about being fiscally responsible. It's just that we're so worried about the debt and the deficit, and that's why we want to go back to Trump and get rid of Joe Biden.
The American people don't need worthless, out-of-touch Nobel Prize winners telling them which president put more money in their pockets, Trump's campaign press secretary Caroline Leavitt wrote in an email to CBS Money Watch from her desk. However, don't you think it's humorous how Trump disparages these useless Nobel laureates? Perhaps they are the only ones with the true ability to save the economy from a complete catastrophe. Would you truly prefer to support a candidate who denigrates scientists in such a way? Come on, people, let's consider it.
And so what's the rationale along those lines for supporting Trump? Trump added trillions more to the debt and the deficit than Biden did, regardless of COVID.
These Nobel laureates may have some insider knowledge that can prevent our pockets from becoming more empty than Trump's campaign promises. Because of this, Rachel Maddow captures Trump's essence so flawlessly that it makes everyone aware of the debacle we're in right now. Fox News and Trump are deceiving us into believing that if he wins, things will suddenly improve because he has some fantastic economic plan. But what about the facts? To help more people learn the truth, Rachel Maddow isn't the only one who has been criticizing Trump on television lately. The same is being done by Anthony Scaramucci, who is more astute than Maddow. As someone who seizes every opportunity to criticize Trump, Anthony Scaramucci is going all out this time. Scaramucci is just one of many former White House staffers who have turned against their old employer. It's a classic Trump story. Initially pals, they turn against him and become his fiercest adversaries after seeing who he really is. In 2017, Scaramucci had a brief stint as the director of communications for the White House. Having had first-hand experience with the Trump world, he is not holding back. He has been severely disparaging Trump, labeling him a failure and claiming that he neglected his homework. He characterized Trump as a reckless leader who was constantly caught between one possible crisis and the next. His description of the 45th president as an orange wrecking ball, though, was possibly his best joke. According to polls, Joe Biden and Donald Trump are running a near tie for the U.S. presidential election in November. Right now, the result is truly up in the air, and we won't find out until the ballots are tallied. Tension is high, and the outcome is uncertain. Scaramucci, though, is certain that Trump will lose, and lose badly.
Real tough time for America right now. It's hard for me to believe that it's this close, given the damage that Donald Trump caused to the society, running the risk that he won't be there. He's broken the law. He's a convicted felon. He attempted a coup, and then he's back at the Senate, and they're clapping for him.
In his opinion, Biden will keep gaining ground as the 2024 campaign heats up, and Trump will be decisively beaten in November at the polls. Scaramucci, however, has a grave warning for both the United States and the rest of the world if Trump becomes office. He thinks the future is going to be really dismal. He made a pointed remark saying, "Trump is a very dangerous man. Despite being a longtime Republican, I will be putting a lot of effort into opposing him over the next 7 months." Scaramucci uses strong language. His goal is to ensure that everyone is aware of how dangerous he believes a Trump presidency would be. Scaramucci is out here raising the alarm while the rest of the Republican Party is busy trying to seem like everything is all right. Taking advantage of his sudden notoriety, Scaramucci rose to prominence as one of Trump's most notable television backers. His brief stay at the White House proved to be a valuable introduction to the realm of political discourse. Leveraging his insider knowledge and unvarnished approach, the Mooch became a frequent guest on MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News, keeping the media spotlight squarely on himself. At this week's Business Roundtable, he recently became acerbic with a few prominent guests for supporting his former employer in the 2024 presidential contest. A who's who of business bigwigs, including Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan Chase, Tim Cook of Apple, and Steven Schwartzman of Blackstone, convened during Donald Trump's visit to Washington. Scaramucci didn't hold back in an interview with MSNBC on Saturday, criticizing the CEOs for backing Trump in exchange for his meager political pledges. Trump suggested at the discussion extending his tax cuts from 2017, which are scheduled to expire at the end of the following year. The former president was greeted warmly by those in the room and praised for his policy recommendations, according to Stephen Chung, the campaign's director of communications. Scaramucci created the phrase Trumpnesia to describe this occurrence. He claims that because of the possible benefits these businessmen stand to gain, they are experiencing selective amnesia and have conveniently forgotten the mayhem and scandals of Trump's prior administration.
It's a little bit of Trumpnesia, if you will. I mean, these guys denounced them several times. They denounced them at the Charlottesville.
Seems like they've got this kind of Trumpnesia, he said, putting his distinctive spin on the ridiculousness. For whatever reason, they've opted to go with him because of these token policy pledges he's making. But in the end, Alex, Jeb Bush was correct, he continued. Some chief executive officers appear to be deliberately ignoring Scaramucci's cautions. Doesn't know what he's talking about, one CEO declared plainly, while others called the former president remarkably meandering, unable to keep a straight thought and all over the map. Trump's conduct has been deteriorating, getting more and more unpredictable every time he appears. That's presumably the reason why the majority of these powerful business magnates are beginning to second-guess their decisions and stop giving to Trump after witnessing his behavior. Let's face it, how in the world are people expected to oversee the nation's economy if they can't even form a cohesive sentence? It's just not adding up. But remember, there will always be a slew of businesses backing Trump since they are aware of his corruption. He's dodgy. They know it. They understand that by supporting him now, they will benefit from favorable legislation and other circumstances. So even if he destroys the economy, it won't harm them. However, this type of action benefits the wealthy while crushing the most vulnerable. And that's the frightening aspect of it all. These days, it's hard to even determine who is telling the truth. For this reason, we need competent journalists who gather the information and present it all so that we can see things as they truly are.